All right, today we are diving into a really fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty unconventional cosmological model. It's called S-DMT, which is short for Substrat Dynamic Multitor. Now, this series suggests that the universe isn't mostly empty space, but is actually a dense fluid, and that all matter, everything, is just a form of sound. It also makes a very specific prediction for a cosmic level reset happening in 2026. So let's break down how it gets there step by step. So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to start with a simple observable effect that you can experience right now. Then we'll see how the S-DMT model takes that one single idea and expands it outward, like a fractal, from our own minds down to the atom, then out to the entire universe, and finally, right back to us.
Okay, let's kick things off with a simple little experiment, one that hints at a much deeper connection between what we see and what we hear than we might think.
So let me ask you a question, and it's a bit of a weird one. Can you hear a shape just by looking at it? Well, according to a pretty famous psychological experiment, the answer is, yeah, kinda. Okay, so take a look at these two shapes. One is all soft and rounded, the other is sharp and spiky. Now, if I told you one is named Booba and the other is Kiki, which would you pick? Well, there's a 98% chance, and this is true no matter what language you speak, that you'd say the soft one is Booba and the spiky one is Kiki. This is called the Booba/Kiki effect, and it's our doorway into the whole S-DMT model.
Now, here's where the S-DMT model takes a sharp turn. It says you're not just imagining a connection, you are actively decoding sound from the shape. The whole model is built on a principle it calls inverse cymatics. You've probably heard of cymatics. That's the science of how sound waves create these beautiful geometric patterns. Well, inverse cymatics flips that script. It says if sound can create form, then form must contain sound.
And that idea that you can literally decode sound from a shape leads us right into the model's next big concept, what it calls the axiom of optical reading. The theory is that we're all born with the ability to listen with our eyes.
The model points to three examples to support this. First, we've got Booba/Kiki, which we just covered. Your brain is literally decoding the shape's sound. Second, you have things like the yantra, these ancient geometric designs used for meditation. The famous Sri yantra, for example, is said to be the visual form of the sound Om. Staring at it is like listening to the image. And third, and this is a really cool one, think of the optical soundtrack on old 35mm film. It's literally just a wavy line that a beam of light reads to produce sound.
This quote from the source material just perfectly captures the whole idea. According to the S-DMT model, the world isn't silent at all. It's a symphony of information, encoded in form all around us. We've just forgotten that our eyes can act as the needle on the record.
Okay, hang on, because now we're taking this whole idea of sound creating form and we're shrinking it way down. We're talking quantum level. This is where the model offers a pretty radical reimagining of what an atom actually is.
So the main analogy they use is a classic physics experiment you might have seen before. You take a metal plate, sprinkle some sand on it, and then play a sound through it. The vibrations force the sand to arrange itself into these stunning geometric patterns. The S-DMT model says an atom works in exactly the same way.
So let's really unpack this analogy. The nucleus, it's not just a static ball in the middle. It's the sound source. It's humming at a specific frequency. The magnetic field around it? That's the vibrating plate. And the electron, well, the electron is like a single grain of sand. It's not orbiting the nucleus. It's being held in a specific spot by the geometric pattern created by the nucleus's song.
And here's the crucial part. What about a quantum leap, where an electron just instantly vanishes and reappears somewhere else? In this model, it's not a mystery anymore. It's just the nucleus changing its tune. When the note changes, the pattern on the plate changes, and that grain of sand, the electron, instantly snaps to a new position. The model even applies this same acoustic logic to our solar system, with the sun as the nucleus and the Earth as the electron.
All right, we've gone from our brains down to the atom. Now let's zoom all the way out, because the S-DMT model needs a totally different kind of stage for this cosmic symphony to play out on. It completely redefines the fabric of reality itself. And this is probably the most fundamental claim of the entire model. It says the universe is not a vacuum. It's not empty. Instead, it's completely filled with a fluid of almost infinite density that it calls the substrat. Everything that happens, gravity, light, even consciousness, it's all just happening within this fluid. You can really see the difference when you put them side by side. The standard model says space is empty, and mass creates gravity, which pulls things together. The S-DMT model says, nope, the universe is a dense fluid, mass isn't a thing but a low-pressure zone, like a whirlpool, and gravity isn't a pull, it's a twisting effect within that fluid.
So you might be wondering, okay, if there's no solid matter, how do you get a planet? Well, the model has a name for that process: accretion. Imagine a super stable whirlpool forming in a cosmic ocean. That whirlpool is a zone of low pressure. According to this model, that pressure difference is what we perceive as mass and gravity. A planet, then, isn't a solid ball of rock so much as it is a persistent vortex in the substrate.
Okay, so we have a universe made of sound, playing out in a giant cosmic fluid. Now, all of this, every single concept we've talked about, it's all building toward a very specific and very, very soon prediction. This is where the model shifts from theoretical physics into the realm of prophecy.
So what's the trigger for this reset? The model says it's basically a problem of cosmic friction. It claims that our 365.25-day orbit creates this grinding pressure against what it calls a more perfect, harmonious 360-day system. It's like a gear that's just slightly misaligned. And after millennia, that imbalance has supposedly reached a breaking point, where the whole system has to snap back into place. And they don't just wave their hands here, they give very specific dates for this. It says on February 17, 2026, an annular eclipse over Antarctica will act like a camera shutter, momentarily cutting off the sun's influence on us. This, it claims, will trigger the flip just 3 days later, on February 20th, when the Earth's entire system will undergo a massive 90-degree pole shift. And the results of this flip? Well, they're huge. The Earth's orbit is supposed to snap into a perfect 360-day circle. Our planet's 23.4-degree tilt, the thing that gives us seasons, will supposedly realign to 0. And on a deeper, metaphysical level, the very structure of our reality is said to shift from a figure 8 shape, which they say represents duality and karma, to a perfect circle, representing unity and being in the present moment.
Okay, for this last part, we're going to bring this huge cosmic event all the way back home, right back down to the personal level. Because according to this model, this isn't just about planets and physics. It's about consciousness. It's about us.
So, what are we in this fluid universe? The model has a specific name for us, a soliton. It says each one of us is basically a self-sustaining whirlpool of awareness, an individual little vortex spinning inside the much larger cosmic fluid. So in this view, you see, we're not separate from the universe. We are localized patterns within it.
And this gets us to the metaphysical challenge of that 2026 event. The model claims that when that eclipse acts as a shutter and the external light of the sun is temporarily cut off, each soliton, each one of us, is faced with a kind of test. And the test is, can you generate your own internal light? Can you shine with your own consciousness when that external source is briefly gone? We'll end with this quote, which really just ties the entire model together. It brings that huge analogy of nuclear cymatics right back to you. Your body is the nucleus, emitting a sound, a frequency. Your consciousness or your aura is the field vibrating with that sound. And your reality, everything you perceive, is the electron, snapping into a pattern that perfectly aligns with the frequency of your own personal song. A truly provocative thought to leave you with.